Hey, everybody, Saul Marquez with the Health Matters podcast. I want to welcome you back to another episode of the series. We're recording live from Las Vegas at the Health 2023 event. And today I have Shannon Klinger with us. She's the Chief Legal Officer and Corporate Secretary. As Chief Legal Officer and Corporate Secretary, Shannon leads Moderna's legal, governance, and corporate compliance efforts. And I'm excited to have her join us again. Such a pleasure to see you, Shannon.
It's great to see you as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. And look, for folks that haven't had a chance to learn about you or listen to the previous interview, tell us a little bit about what inspires your work in this business.
Absolutely. For me, it's personal. And I think a lot of people who are in any aspect of healthcare, they get there because of an experience that they had. And for me, it was my grandmother being diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And that was probably now 15 years ago. I had no idea the devastating impact that disease can have on families. And it was really only when we were at the funeral for my grandfather, a man she'd been married to for 50 years, who was actually my personal hero. And she leaned over to me during that service and said, "It's really a shame that your grandfather couldn't be here, that he had to work. It's such a beautiful service." And it was in that moment with a capital M that I realized the devastating impact that Alzheimer's had for her and ultimately for us as a family. And she lived for 9 more months and every day grieved the loss of her husband of 50 years. And it really pushed me to get out of being a lawyer in a law firm, which is what I was doing at the time, and come to industry to try to figure out how to leverage my talents to make the greatest impact I could for patients.
That's amazing, Shannon. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's a personal story. And I really love your motivation, the drive that you have for the work that you do. How has AI played a role in the evolution of automation in R&D at Moderna?
Yeah, so if you think about Moderna, lots of people know who we are today. Not so many people knew who Moderna was in early 2020. And so for 10 years, Moderna has been innovating in the space of messenger RNA. But as a preclinical company, one of the biggest challenges that we had was producing small-scale batches of mRNA for our clinical trials. In fact, we were producing something like 30 batches a month, which was not going to be enough to sustain what we needed to do as an organization. Moderna has been AI core to its strategy, not something that's adjacent, not something that's been fashion forward, but this company from an AI and digital perspective, it's been core to what we do. And really leaning in to think about how to leverage AI, algorithms, and automation in our research manufacturing process allowed us to go from 30 batches of mRNA to almost 1,000 now.
Awesome.
And we need to continue that if we think about a company that in the next 5 years is going to have more than 50 programs in clinical development. Another thing that we saw leveraging AI and digital technology was during the COVID pandemic. It took 42 days from the time we identified the sequence that was going to be relevant for our COVID-19 vaccine, from sequence identification to putting that sequence in phase 1 clinical trial. And we all know how quickly that process went rapidly to help really open economies and give health back to people.
Sounds like it's been core, and it continues to be core to the strategy and operation of how Moderna works. What is AI's potential role in reducing costs? That's a topic right now that's hot.
It is, but I'd like to reframe the question.
Okay.
Because I really don't think it's about cost. I think it's about speed to innovation. If you think about who we are as a company, Moderna is a platform company. That means we merge the best of science and the best of technology into a single platform, leveraging messenger RNA that we believe can yield hundreds of treatments for patients all over the world. And so when we lean in and think about speed and impact to patients, that's where we really lean in from an AI perspective. Give you a couple of examples. We have something that we call the mRNA Design Studio. And that really allows us to integrate our messenger RNA design with our automation processes. We direct orders through each phase of the clinical development, use our high throughput screen and manufacturing process to make sure that we can get mRNA constructs to the scientists who need them. That becomes really important because as a platform-based technology company that happens to play in the biotech space, we also have a program called mRNA Access. This program, we open our platform to researchers and academic institutions and government institutions around the world to see what might they do with messenger RNA to battle infectious diseases, to research things for unmet medical need, and to be able to do that and deliver for those stakeholders through our automation and digital platform is critically important.
That's super fascinating, Shannon. And it's almost like it's an open platform, right? Think of it like coding. The mRNA is the code, and you're inviting collaboration to come up with new ideas and new applications to it. What role do you think the government should play in regulating AI?
That's a really great question. I think it's really important to balance regulation with innovation. And this is the same answer almost anyone would give you across industry. And when we start to find nascent technologies that have become adopted, and how do we think about, on the one hand, ensuring that we protect people, we have transparency around the use, for example, of artificial intelligence, that we use those applications ethically and in a way that actually is for the public good, while at the same time understanding that too much regulation will actually cut against that speed to it. And days matter for patients. If you have someone in your family who's suffering from cancer, for example, every day matters if there's the possibility to get to a treatment that either can lead to a cure or lead to more time. And so I think what we need to really think about is, how do we educate regulators about the uses of AI in our spaces, come up with smart regulation that has that balance between the need to have speed to innovation and the need to ensure confidence in the processes that you're using. And I think particularly we're sitting here in the United States, if we look back at data privacy as an example, Europe came out with GDPR and had a multinational scheme for privacy. In the US, we're still struggling to regulate it from a state level perspective as opposed to at the federal level. Can we come up with a common standard to regulate AI so that we have a level playing field, but we maximize the innovative impact for patients?
Said Shannon. And look, as a tech first company playing in the biotech space, certainly love the work that you guys are doing. What closing thought would you leave our listeners with?
At Moderna, we imagine the impossible and make it possible. And so I think just continuing to understand that innovation is going to move much faster than any of us can comprehend. How do we leverage that for good? How do we all come to work every day knowing that what we want to do is make a tremendous difference for people? I'm actually on a panel later this afternoon with Vanessa Carey, and we're going to talk about how we leverage science and technology to build sustainable health systems in Africa. And I think the power of technology to democratize, in our case, medicines around the world, irrespective of where someone was born, that they have access to high quality treatments, is something that we're certainly looking forward to.
I love it, Shannon. Always inspired by the vision that you put forth when we do these podcasts with you. Love the work that Moderna's doing to make health better for everyone. And I can't thank you enough for being with us today.
Thank you so much.